This conference will now be recorded.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing well, thanks.
Cool. Robert, looks like you've been busy on social media doing your stuff.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
So Grant's in here. He's muted right now. And I'm showing Summer.
I'm here.
So, I'm sorry?
I'm here.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. So are you looking at Thunder lasers or?
I am. I'm purchasing something in the next week. So I've got about 3 or 4 that I'm looking at right now. So
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm Brian, and I'm with Thunder Laser USA's support team. And Grant's tagging along today as well. He's our sales manager. And Robert is one of our up and coming influencers as far as that goes. He does a lot of neat stuff. You may have seen some of his videos that he's putting out. So this is going to be rather informal, I guess. This is my first shot at it. So I guess I'll start with you. If you have any questions or if you just want to give me a little background on what kind of things you want to do or anything you want to talk about, the floor is yours if you like it.
sure. So I am looking for an intro laser. I've never done laser cutting or engraving before to kind of elevate my hobby business to the next level. I currently do screen and vinyl print transfers. I do embroidery. I do custom sewing. So I'm just trying to go a step further to offer customers some other things. My sister-in-law is about to buy a wedding venue facility and get into wedding planning. So there's lots of avenues there for brides that we know with a laser cutter we can offer packages for and partner together to do those things. So
Sure.
just kind of looking for something base level. My customer base is a lot of moms in their mid 30s, early 40s. So they're always looking for cute stuff for kid decor, things for school, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. So just starting off, are there any models that you were looking at in the Thunder product line specifically?
I think the Nova 51 is the one when I was talking with a sales manager that was probably the best for my needs.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good size. I like this one because you can fit a full 4x8 sheet of material through the pass through and not have to
Right.
cut it down first. So that's a pretty neat thing.
Okay.
And I guess you'll just be doing the normal stuff, wine boxes and maybe some tumblers. I don't know if you want to get into tumblers, but cutting boards,
Yeah.
things like that. All the stuff you see on Etsy, I guess, would be a good description.
That kind of stuff. And then also like engraving on wine bottles or champagne bottles for a bride and groom gift, and then glassware.
Okay, all right.
And then on like, cake servers and knives, all that kind of wedding-y junk that you see.
I see a lot of people cutting out cake toppers and things like that out of acrylic and that kind of thing. Yeah, that sounds like a good fit. You said you've been researching a little bit on your brands. What have you found from a consumer perspective so far?
So I really, honestly, for me so far, it's a cutter is a cutter is a cutter. I mean, they're when you get into certain models and laser tube strengths, what I'm looking for is customer service after the fact. Honestly, that's what I'm spending my money for. I have I've done an in-person because I'm in the Houston area. So I've done an in-person at Epilogue. The customer service there seems phenomenal. I did another Zoom yesterday. Customer service not as good. I know when you're talking $10,000 to $20,000, that might not be a lot for some people. For me, that's been a lot to save for my business. So if I'm going to output, 10 to 20 grand, I want to know that there's some customer service on the back end. And I'm just not going to be floating blind by myself if I have a problem. So
Sure. Okay. Well, a couple of these guys that are on here. Well, okay, great. Hey, Mark, good to see you, man. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me, Brian?
I can.
Good.
So we've got Summer on, and she's shopping. She's laser shopping right now. And as you might have heard, her top thing is going to be client service and care and things like that. So As far as the equipment goes, you know, you did mention, Summer, that a laser is a laser and is a laser, and for the most part, that's kind of true. There are some differences with ours over some of the others that are some of the other top tier Chinese lasers that I think set us apart. But beyond that, I think we're doing a good job trying to bolster our service and make it better every way that we can. So I don't know. These guys might just chew me up, but I'll let them give their insight on that if they like.
Hi, Summer. Welcome to
Hi,
the
how
group.
are you?
Good. No, I don't think you can go wrong choosing Thunder. This was my first laser, and boy, I'll say the support and the help that you can get from the forums has just been outstanding. So I think you're going to be you made a wise choice if you're going this direction.
What software are you guys running for your systems?
I use LightBurn for the interface, and that comes with the machine. And
Okay.
so far, it's been real easy to use.
Okay. So I'm very familiar with Corel Draw. What's the user curve? Like, what's the learning curve from LightBurn to Corel? If any of you are familiar with that program.
I can tell you this, I'm trying to learn Corel, and it's way more difficult.
Okay. That's good to know.
Summer, on the LightBurn and with RDWorks, which is what ships with the machine, they
Sure.
both have Corel macro plugins that help streamline the
Okay.
workflow. So you can actually design in any design software you want, but specifically for this script, after you're done with your design work in Corel, you can push a button. There'll be a LightBurn button on your toolbar, and it'll automatically open LightBurn and import the job for you so you're ready to send it to the laser. So that takes out a few steps of having to export it, then close your file, then open LightBurn, then import it back in. So it streamlines that tool chain for you.
Okay.
So,
Good
and that's
morning,
pretty
team.
popular with a lot of people.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Summer, I have a question for you. How did you learn Corel Draw? Did you have training on classes or a book or what?
I taught myself with YouTube. So I also do embroidery for, I have large format commercial embroidery machines, and I design a lot of stuff in Corel and then use an embroidery software to digitize back to that. So yeah, I do t-shirts and vinyl and screen printing and embroidery. So I design a lot of my stuff myself in my programming in Corel and then format it back into the interfacing that works with whichever machine my customer needs me to print on.
Cool.
Hey,
You
Brian,
probably
can you
watched a
hear me?
lot of Rob Green stuff then.
Yeah.
Green stuff. He's good on there. So we've got a guy that does lasers like that. It's Russ Sadler, and it's Bar Multimedia, and he's with something else now. And he kind of goes down some rabbit holes with that stuff, but he's really in depth like that as well. And he's a good resource on the laser side of that. If you're a visual learner, he's a good guy to watch some of that stuff, as well as all of our people. So hey,
Can
it's
you guys hear
awesome.
me?
I saw you in there, man.
Yeah, can you hear me at all? No.
Oh no, say that again.
Can you hear me?
Say that one more time.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep doing that with you. Now I was gonna speak. I'm a Corel user. So that's where when you ask me how's LightBurn, like, oh come on, not even a comparison.
Okay.
LightBurn is a lot easier. You're gonna learn it pretty quick. So my hint for you is, like Brian said, there's a macro. It's like makes it freaking awesome. Just like my name, you just literally produce what you want to produce in Corel, use that macro, and voila, it shows up in LightBurn like nobody's business. Like that's like the best thing available. But so why would you use one over the other? Simple short answer. When it gets to really detailed stuff, I always go back to Corel.
Okay.
Because I've got those snap hooks I can put in with the guidelines and stuff. Just makes it so much easier. But when it comes to just freestyling real quick, you want to get something done, move things around, make some adjustment. LightBurn, way ahead of Corel on that. With Corel, we got such complexity involved in it. It just sometimes like, okay, where's that one property I need to do this or that? LightBurn is like, oh, click over there, do this, I'm done. Easy. So I will actually now pretty much spend 90% of the time in LightBurn, except when it comes to that, oh, I got to design this very intricate little project, and Yep, back to Corel. It is much easier to do
Okay.
that and just go macro, shift right into LB, and I'm done.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, Summer. It's Robert Kofed. I wanted to give you my perspective on kind of what's happened with me over the last 6 months. I come from a CNC background, and I researched purchasing a laser for about a year and looked at most all of the major manufacturers before I decided on Thunder. And one of the big things that mattered to me was something similar to what you mentioned. Is I knew nothing about lasers before I purchased this laser, and I knew I was going to need some pretty decent support just because I was starting from scratch. And I've had my Nova 24 for about 5 months now, and I've reached out to the Thunder staff a number of times, not because I've had problems with the machine, but more just questions on what the heck I was doing to make sure I didn't damage the machine. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's really what sold me to begin with, is the amount of time that the group in general will spend with you to make sure you get kind of through where you're at.
Okay.
The other thing that I would encourage you to do is, once you buy the laser, whatever it is, regardless whether you're contacting the manufacturer or not, it's sometimes the support forums that make a big difference on whether you're going to get help or not. And there's several forums that are associated with Thunder users that I've found that have been very forward with settings and problems to work through. A lot of the other forums that I frequented, they didn't want to share their information on how they were getting things done successfully. And that could be really frustrating.
Okay.
So do you have any laser experience?
No, none.
Okay, then I recommend you start with the Glowforge. And no, I'm just kidding.
No. That's what drew me down this rabbit hole. And when I couldn't do a cup, I said, no, I'm out. Typically, and my husband's very proud of me, because typically I would say, oh, Glowforge, $6,000, let me order it and get it in, and then it not meet my needs. So I've spent 6-7 months researching to see what we're at, and we're kind of in the final week of me really kind of talking to people a little bit more before I write the check and choose the brand.
No, you won't be disappointed. So I started with the FS Laser hobby. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so that was like about $4,400 is what I spent. And yeah, within probably a year, I'd say, I was like, I don't think I can do any rotary stuff on this. It's getting frustrating. Then my alignment went off. I'm like, what the hell? Look at the warranty, and yeah, that expired like a couple months ago. I'm like, crap. Sent it in, paid I think like $250. Came back worse than before. I'm like, what in the freaking heck? Called them back, and they said, well, this is a hobby laser, not a production laser. I'm like,
right.
Okay, thank you for that. 6 months of research later, I picked Thunder Laser. Now that was 4 years ago. Basically, I got my laser March of 2016. The reason I know that is when you order it, it's built, and that's when the snap goes on it, the day it was built.
Sure.
And it's been running great, solid. Love the fact anytime I hear somebody say Glowforge, I'm like, hey, just spend a few more $100, not thousands.
Right.
And get a Nova 2460 in your back on the front door. Done. Easy as that can be. Don't ask questions. I looked at Epilogue. I looked at Trotec. Now, Trotec, I must admit, I love those machines, but no, I'm not paying a car payment on that sucker.
Right.
Then I looked at Red Sail. I looked at Boss, Universal. There's, I think, 1 or 2 companies out of Canada. There's something called Rabbit something. I was like, what the heck? But in the end, I settled with Thunder. I think like one person even made the comment. They looked at the weight ratio and they're like, God, you guys are the heaviest of all machines. Yeah, because it's solid construction. It's really solid. I've hit it a few times. My body's been banged up pretty hard.
You're going to take it easy on your laser,
guys.
also.
I've got a sense of humor talking to field boys all day long.
Yeah. Something that is also a little unique with us as Thunder designs and builds these in our factories. A lot, I would say all, I think of the other high-end Chinese lasers,
Mhm.
buy them from somewhere else or from the factory, and they bring them into their building brand new, unbox them, and then tear the wiring harnesses out and put in new wires and change the heads and do all of these alignment processes and things like that, which sounds great. But it's kind of like you go buy a new car at a dealership, and the first thing you do is tear the engine apart in your driveway just to fix something and put it back together.
Mhm.
And ours aren't that way. They're ready to run right out of the box. They're already calibrated and everything at the factory, so we don't have to do that. And there's a lot of overhead in there. If you have to tear a machine apart and pay guys to put it back together and fix it before you can even sell it, you're investing a lot of money, into that process when it could be going toward innovation or quality enhancements
Mhm.
and things like that. So that's just one thing that I liked about Thunder when I saw them for the first time.
Mhm.
Uh, and the biggest compliment I think I can get from these is everybody calls them something similar to a tank. I believe that's
Mhm.
one frequently used term for these machines. Maybe we should have called them tank lasers instead of thunder lasers. But are there any functions or features or abilities that maybe have you on the fence that you need some clarification about as you look
Um,
kinds?
Talk to me about the focus, because like obviously Epilogue is in my backyard, so I've been there. I've checked out all their mini brands, and yes, they're double the price of what you guys are asking, but they have a really cool autofocus tool. So does Thunder offer anything like that? Is it all manual focus?
All of the Thunder Laser Nova series machines do come with
Mhm.
autofocus, and you'll
Okay.
hear a lot of things on some of these boards about how autofocus is crap, even on the Epilogue groups.
Uh-huh.
People that take their stylus off of the head just because it malfunctions sometimes.
Okay.
I use mine religiously, and part of that's
Mhm.
because I use LightBurn camera and I want to keep my calibration up to par. So I pretty much always use autofocus. We use an infrared autofocus that
Mhm.
shoots an invisible beam across the bed, a lot like your garage door. If you garage
Right.
door's coming down, you walk across the beam, it'll stop. That's the way this system kind of works. So it actually reads the material that way.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, I have a question with regard to that autofocus.
Mhm.
I know if sometimes when I'm using the rotary, if the tower is blocking the beam, you cannot adjust the Z. Is there a way to defeat that, or do you just have to physically move it out of the way?
You just have to physically move it out of the way so it's not in the path of the beam. So,
Okay.
and typically when I don't know how it is on the 24 because of the height and you're using the low roller, but I know on mine, I've got mine well below, that tower does stick up, but again, I don't use autofocus on rotary either. I'm usually manually focused on the rotary, but I know what you mean that our autofocus max sensor is also the maximum end stop for Z. So I know what you mean. If you block that sensor, then your bed won't move anymore. And there is no way to defeat that. Going in maintenance mode will not defeat that since it's an end stop. So that's just something that we have to work around. So
Yeah, it's not a problem at all. I just was curious.
yeah. Yeah, so since it serves that dual function, we can't take it out of the equation, or otherwise you'd probably go past the extents that the bed could move. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. It keeps us from doing something wrong. Sometimes it's a little inconvenient depending on placement on doing rotary stuff, but
Yeah, Summer, I have a comment for Summer also. I've seen some of the lasers have autofocus on a variable Z height as it's doing its laser thing across an object. The Thunder does not have that feature at all. But as far as manual focus goes, once you get used to it, it only takes you a matter of seconds, and you can get perfect focus very easy.
Okay.
yeah. And a lot of people prefer manual focus. I prefer auto,
Mhm.
and a lot of people prefer manual. So, it's just kind of what you're used to and what you get used to. So.
Mhm. So for those of you that are using machines for business, what do you think the learning curve was from when you got your machine until you could produce something that you were happy with selling?
I think it depends upon how much time you put into it.
Mhm.
But I guess uh, the hard thing for me was trying to figure out speeds and power settings and line intervals for various substrates. But there's a library that's available that is very close to where it should be. So you can use that as a starting point and kind of go from there. Like Brian says, each machine has its own personality, and you have to kind of get used to it.
Yeah, the other thing about the materials libraries, and another thing I like about Thunder, is all of our Nova Series machines are designed and built the same way. They use almost identical components, the same motors, the same controllers, everything. Literally the only difference is laser power and physical dimensions. So we can actually have meaningful discussions by wattage on speed and power. And a lot of the lasers that are out there don't have that advantage, especially the clones, the ones that you see on eBay, because you don't know what power supplies in them or what tube. So it makes discussing that difficult. So our standardization makes it really easy to establish baseline settings for certain materials, and then be able to have, fruitful discussions about it, within the group. So that's another thing I really like about them.
Hey, Brian, may I ask a question about power settings across various wattage tubes? Let's say somebody says, well, I'm using 50% power on a 100-watt laser. Would that translate into 50 watts?
Loosely, it's not linear. So a direct calculation would get you in the ballpark, but it wouldn't hit a home run probably. But yeah, it would get you in the ballpark, I would say.
Remember, Mark, the lasers are capped off, so you don't burn up the full power capacity. So when you say 50, technically speaking, it's not 50. It's just a little bit less, like Brian's saying.
Yes, I understand that. The reason I asked the question is because sometimes somebody will say, well, here's what I did to get this effect on a certain kind of a substrate, and I'm running a 100-watt laser, and these were my settings. Well, I'd like to duplicate that on my Nova 24, and I kind of wondered, well, okay, should I just say 50% of whatever that person's power was is a good starting point in actual watts for my laser? So
yeah,
instead of you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I agree. I think, Brian, also another thing, if I remember correctly from some Laser Gods webpage, doesn't the higher power also has a bigger burn spot?
A little bit, but we've discovered that at least between the 80 and 100 watt, we've measured them and the spot size is the same. And then of course you can focus that out. I think the difference in the beam waste across these different power tubes are negligible in the fact, as a layman, I don't think you'd notice. I think if you got out your USB microscope and your micrometer and wanted to do some testing, I think you would be able to find some differences, but I think you'd have to hunt pretty hard for them.
Okay, no worries. Well, actually, the other question I wanted to ask,
that is a thing for sure. Just like with the striking voltage or the minimum power threshold, on the DC excited tubes, how they differ a little bit.
Gotcha.
But the good thing is like you said, since our controllers are all matched to the power supplies in the tubes, we can almost talk apples to apples, even when we talk about minimum striking voltage or the percentage of power that it takes to fire a machine, which is somewhere around 7%, I think, to get it to fire.
Is that Mary on the call looking for a new laser?
Summer,
sorry. Summer, what model are you looking
at? The Nova 51.
Okay, you can get off this call. This is only Nova 24 people on this call.
Oh, all right. Tell me what the next one is.
They're all made the same, so we'll let her stay.
I'd be that way.
Summer, I'd like to address your question. When I purchased my laser, it was primarily to add some additional options for the customers I have. I run a custom woodworking business, and I will tell you that it was only a couple of days by the time I got my laser set up. I had orders before I actually had the machine, and within, maybe 2 days, I was generating cups and doing some engraving on woodwork. So I think, if you spend a little time with LightBurn and know the basics before your machine shows up, you'll be amazed on how fast you'll be able to start to produce things.
Okay.
And
Speaking of cups, hey Robert, we lost your video unless you turned it off on purpose.
Don't encourage him, Mark. Don't encourage him.
Hey, I don't see you either.
I always keep it off because with all the equipment behind me and my hairstyle, I'm tech support. Actually, I got to get off to get on a call soon. But
Anyway, I put up a question a while back on how to strip the powder coating from tumblers that got messed up. And, you know, it says on the bottom of these things, do not use in dishwasher.
Right.
And I was wondering why the heck that was on there. Is it going to take the powder coating off? I'll tell you what, this powder coating is on there so tenaciously. I put on real powerful paint stripper, scraped it, wire brushed it with a brass brush, finally ended up wire brushing it with a steel brush in order to get that stuff off. So it is really on there.
I found a chemical a while back. Looks like Robert's mic is muted.
Thanks, Brian. What I found the best way to do is take some paper towels, put some acetone on the paper towels, wrap those tumblers, and then wrap them in foil, let them sit for about 10 or 15 minutes, take them out of the package, and that stuff you can just kind of peel it off with your fingers. It's quick.
Acetone?
Acetone, yep.
Yeah, acetone, it eats. I do woodworking, so we use acetone to cut resin through. You just drop it in there and it'll actually cut right through.
Yeah, you just take a paper towel and get it, you know, pretty, not soaking wet, but very damp, and then wrap your tumbler. And then what that foil does is it presses that paper towel against the tumbler wall. And like I said, usually it'll take 10, 15, some of the better ones like a Yeti or something like that have got a little bit more coating on them will take 20, 25 minutes, but just undo it and then you'll be amazed. You'll just be able to peel that stuff off like rubber.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Any other questions, Summer?
I don't think so. Or, well, I guess so. What's the upkeep? So the maintenance on it. What are you guys doing each week? What are you doing once a month? What are you, like, how are you taking care of your laser?
So we're working on a preventative maintenance schedule. We do have stuff in the manual, but it doesn't actually define, duty, cycles or frequency. And part of that is it depends on the use of the environment. I use mine just for testing, basically. I don't really make anything. So I fire my laser maybe an hour every 2 weeks. So of course the upkeep is not going to be nearly as intensive as someone who is going to run it 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. So that does play a factor. Checking your optics and that kind of thing are really the most important. Now, I don't know. The one thing I like about these, and I think you guys probably noticed it too, is we use sealed roller bearings for the motion control components on the gantry. So there's not all those linear bearings with that sticky white lithium grease that looks like toothpaste on it that you constantly have to clean out and repack because it picks up all the particulates. So I really like that. And they say lubricate those rails, and the reason is probably not because they need to be lubricated, but because they're a stainless steel rod pressed into an aluminum gantry, and there's dissimilar metals there, and you could get corrosion. So we wipe it down with some light machine oil or something like that every so often just to keep the corrosion back. But they're self-lubricating, self-sealed bearings. So basically, you just wipe the gantry off. Just some TLC. There's nothing real major. You don't have to break out the toolbox every time you want to do something, as far as PM goes. So we try to make it as easy as possible. We got a bunch of resources on how to do a lot of that stuff. And we're going to be working on an actual maintenance schedule for people, as a baseline to get started as well. So
as far as the ease of maintenance, it's really easy. Thunder lasers, at least my 24 is set up so that when you're trying to wipe off the rails and have access to the mirrors and the half mirrors and the lenses, they make it real easy to access because the doors open up and everything is right there. I clean my optics weekly, even though I don't use the machine that much right now, just because it's easy to do, and from one side to the other it only takes about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And
Brian, the laser's air chilled or water chilled?
Oh, that's
cooled?
another good point. It
How's it
comes
cooled?
with a water chiller.
Okay.
Yeah, it's water cooled, and all of our machines do come with genuine SNA CW Series 5000 chillers, except for that
Okay.
Mini 60. It comes with a CW 3000, but it's a 40-watt machine. So,
Okay.
but all the rest of
Yeah.
them do come with the CW 5000 series.
Okay.
And use distilled water.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. I gotta jump out, Brian. Guys, good to see you again. Catch you
Hey,
later.
awesome. I appreciate you
Very good.
joining us, man. Have a good day.
All right, take it. Bye.
So I see Michael joined. It looks like Bryce joined. If you guys have any questions or just want to jump in, feel free. Oh, Awesome left. Yeah, so yeah, we can talk about Awesome now since he left.
Hey guys, this is Bryce Garrick. We just got our laser about a week ago, set it up this weekend, and me and my wife looked at each other after the first cut and was like, wow, this is amazing. But
Nice.
some of the main things I posted on that Facebook page, but I'm still trying to cut through that 1/4-inch Baltic birch. I got it from Home Depot, so it's probably not the best quality. So I'm going to try to run over to hardwood supplier, but I'm going to try it again and see if better quality plywood would help, or I guess I might need to invest in that 4-inch lens. Anyone have any issues with that or any talking points?
I did. I actually put a post up there a while back on having trouble getting through 1/4-inch Baltic birch plywood. I'm building clock parts, and I don't want to have any, little hard spots or anything that I had to cut with a knife on a gear, for instance. So it had to cut through cleanly. My previous batch of Baltic birch plywood cut like butter. The next batch I got, I had these little hard spots every now and then, and I just couldn't get through them, even with multiple passes and up in the power. So it makes a huge difference in the quality of that wood. I can tell you that for a fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, engineered lumbers are some of the hardest things to cut through and get your settings right just because of all the variations, glue pockets, voids, the way the strands are oriented, all of that stuff. The adhesives are a huge deal also. You could, find two that have the same wood in them, and just the difference in the adhesives can make a huge difference. So yeah, that's a little bit of a rabbit hole when you start talking about ply. MDF is dense and it's tough, but it's also pretty uniform. I don't know about across brand to brand, but ply seems to be the Achilles heel of engineered woods as far as that goes. So it does.
What model of machine did you get?
I got the 51 100-watt machine.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you should be able to blow through that stuff like butter.
yeah, so I'm going to keep messing with it, but we were going through, I think, 3mm or 12mm, some thinner stuff, and it was working great. So we're gonna try that, and then I guess we're gonna try to do some acrylics. Have y'all worked much with acrylics? And
I love acrylic. That's one of my favorite mediums, that and glass.
Yeah.
It's most, and that's totally, acrylic is super, super uniform pretty much across the board on cast acrylic. So it's repeatable, and you know what you're going to get from the onset. So it's great. If you're going to surface engrave, especially if you want to do edge lit or something like that, you definitely want to use as little power as possible just to make a mark. And you want your air assist on engrave to be turned down so low that you don't get that white residue. And you can play around with your air assist and see what I'm talking about. You almost get to the point where you don't have enough air that you're concerned about keeping your lens safe. And I'm even going to experiment. I've got a bunch of little case fans. I'm going to experiment with some smoke assist as opposed to the air assist that comes right out of the nozzle when I'm doing acrylic, to see if I can evacuate all of that smoke without blowing down onto the acrylic at all, so I can get that haze-free look. Now a lot of times you want that though. You can adjust your air assist and almost adjust the contrast. The more air you use, the whiter it'll look, and it'll stay white. Because it bakes in. So that it's a pretty crazy thing to see how air affects engraving on acrylic.
Oh wow. So yeah, I saw some clear acrylic and then it printed, I guess, or it lasered the white. So that's really messing with the air, is how you achieve that.
Yeah, and also using cast acrylic. If you use extruded, you won't get that kind of contrast. It cuts fine. It's good for keychains and that kind of thing. But if you want that real bright white contrast, then you'll definitely want to use cast acrylic.
Cast acrylic. And then for messing with the air settings, should I do that? I did get the forward like compressor, and then I have a air gauge on it. Is that where you mess with it, or you're messing with it on that machine, the dual air?
I mess with it on the dual air assist, and we've got some videos on that stuff.
Okay.
A couple of things to keep in mind if you're running external airs, the maximum system pressure on these is 80 psi.
Mhm.
Most people run somewhere between 40 and 60 or something like that, as far as cutting and that kind of thing goes. So, you know, when I run mine, I set my regulator at 70 because I usually never go over that. And you also want to relieve the pressure on the system at the end of the day. Otherwise, the valve seats in those relays will be under pressure the entire time, and it can cause them to be depressed, and it can decrease the life of that valve seat. So it's important to depressurize the system every evening.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Sweet.
And
well, I appreciate it.
yeah. And yeah, try that other wood, you know, because that definitely does make a difference. And then give us a shout back, and we'll be glad to help you work through anything that you need.
Of course. I appreciate everything.
Sure, no problem. So, Michael he's a current owner. He's one of our demo partners also. He's just listening in. I guess Grant's just going to listen in. We should make him say hi, especially Summer, if you've been talking with him. There he goes.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, Grant, how you doing, man?
We're doing good over here.
Are we
Rebecca's
doing
in here
okay
too.
for our first shot?
Oh yeah, this is going great.
So, yeah. Hi, I thought I heard Rebecca back there. Hi.
Yeah, she's in here. She said hi.
So yeah, Bryce you've been here, and Bryce had a question. Summer had a few good questions. You know, when we were first doing this, I was wondering if it would be a problem if we have more than 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people on here, if it would be hard to manage, but I think it's been going really smooth. So hopefully as this grows, we'll have a whole screen full of people so we can keep some good dialogue going.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if anybody else has any questions, or if you guys just want to talk shop the rest of the time.
I'm just kind of curious on what Bryce is going to make with his new laser.
So I'm kind of second generation sign kind of shop. My dad ran a big sign shop. They used a lot of Zun cutters and stuff, which are extremely pricey. And I've been showing him this stuff on the laser, and he's truly amazed what it can do. So their shops never really had much laser cutters to them. So hopefully with this new laser cutter, I can expand kind of my own business, and with his help. So just that, some leather. I want to get into lasering leather for hat patches and stuff, and then probably some tumblers, and mostly signs probably would be my main thing, because that's that's why we went with the larger machine. And I was on the fence about going a CNC plasma table or this cutter, but definitely the laser has been better, especially for my wife being able to use it too, and not having to move around a couple 100-pound sheets of metal. So it's been nice. So I'm looking forward to it, and we're excited every day to figure out what we can make on it.
Cool. How did your setup process go? How was your like from the time they dropped it? How did your delivery go? I know with the 51s, you know, we always do residential liftgate shipping, or always request it, and on the 24s and 35s, it's never a problem. 51s are a little bigger, and the 63s are a beast. But how did your delivery and installation and everything go?
So the delivery, me and my wife were like talking during the day, like, oh, they're gonna call us and we'll figure out a schedule. We go out to dinner, we get a call, and they're like, hey, we're at your door with the laser, with the big old box, and didn't even call us. And so luckily we were 5 minutes from the house, so we showed up, and there's a semi sitting out front, and he opens up the door, and that box is as big wide as that trailer is. So
yeah.
I mean, he told me all he could do is drop it on the street. And I was like, man, I need it at least in the driveway. I can't leave this box on the street. And so I convinced him, and me and my wife just pushed it, and we got it up the driveway lip, and it wasn't much of a problem. those boxes though, those lift gates aren't big enough. He has to like drop that dolly off the front of the lift gate. So I mean, he got it off, and then unboxing it was fine. I mean, everything was in perfect condition. Had to get my dad to help us move it into the garage, but I mean, they're clean machines. They're securely packaged, and I mean, we were looking at the Chinese laser brands from eBay versus this, and I mean, this is definitely the better route to go if you want to.
Those clones, I've delved into those for quite a while. I've rebuilt a few of them and modified some, and there's really a stigma that follows those Chinese clones that gets attached to the high-end lasers like us, and that's one thing that I've been trying to break, because there is a world of difference. And people go, oh, these are Chinese lasers, they must be junk, just because all of the stuff that you see on Amazon and eBay and all the horror stories you hear about it. But there really is a world of difference. So it's a lot more than just the support, on the US side. It really is. I started with ULS lasers, and then I got into a bunch of clones. And the first time I saw a Thunder, it was a Mars 90 at this friend of mine's place in Clarksville. And the first time I saw it after being around clones for 3 or 4 years was, that's not a Chinese laser. But it really was. So I was really impressed. And that day was the day that I decided that Thunder was my brand for life. So, and here I am. So.
Hey Brian, do you have a new sales guy now?
Yeah, Grant Barrage is our sales manager. And that way he can help out with that stuff, and I can get back to my core competencies and start putting out some video content and bolstering the service and being able to focus on that. So,
okay.
He's a good guy. He shoots you straight.
Where's he located?
He's in Texas with Clay.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Oh, who am I talking to? It just says attendee 4 here.
Oh, this is Grant.
Oh, hi, Grant.
So, yeah, he's all ready to buy a laser, I think. You gonna get one, Grant, so you can answer questions if you need to. You can just 3 o'clock in the morning fire up the laser.
If you're paying, as long as you're buying it, I'm cool with it.
Well, you could buy it because you get commission, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
Hey, one thing I'll mention for Summer and Bryce, initially when I purchased my laser, I had an idea that there were, 3 or 4 things that I was going to be able to create on this laser and be able to sell it. And once I got into it, you'll be amazed on the amount of products you can use. I mean, JDS Industries has got a catalog 2 inches thick on products that you can use with your laser. So I was pleasantly surprised on all the different things that you could be involved in to use your laser to be profitable. So that's one thing that was a real pleasant surprise from my perspective. When I made the order and purchased it, I had a handful of things that I wanted to do, and then the more I've used it, the more I realized, wow, this is just crazy.
Hey Robert, how are you doing your marketing primarily?
Mostly social media. I recently retired from a job that I had for 40 years, and so I'm really doing this part-time. I really don't want to work myself into a complete full-time job, but it's the quality of the product, and then the YouTube content is what I'm really going with.
Mm-hmm.
So mostly social media stuff.
I had my cup guru, this guy named Justin Fisher in Wisconsin. He is the king of cups as far as I can tell. And now he's got a LogoJet UV printer now. He's UV printing full wraps on mugs now, but he has a bunch of lasers. And that's how we got to be together. And he drives down the street and takes a video and goes a couple of blocks, turns around and comes back, and then sits down and looks at all the storefronts and all the logos and all the signs that are on his video in that 2-block period. And he makes cups and keychains and just promo stuff for all of them. And he parks his car and goes and walks, and he hits them all. and gives them all of his logoed items. And he does that once a week. And he said that he's got so much work he has to turn it away. And I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Where's this guy located in Wisconsin?
Beaver Dam, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they run a trophy shop out there.
One thing that I've used that's been working out real well, and it's worked for me for a long time, even in the wood business, is I give away a lot of product, and the bottom line is I would say about 70 to 80% of the time that I give away a cup or something else, I'll get an order from those folks, and typically those orders can be fairly sizable. So even though you're taking a chance that they're not going to place an order, the percentage is pretty high, and I've done real well that way. And then what happens is, good example, I gave a sports team some sports bottles with their logo and their team number and all that kind of stuff, and it turned into about a 70 bottle order. Just because one team talked to another team, and so I don't push a marketing hard, but when I see perspective, I typically jump on it.
Yeah. The other thing is I used to be in real estate. I didn't sell. I was a techie geek there too, just like I am here. But they have meetings, and there's always agents wanting closing gifts like wine bottle holders and cutting boards and wooden spoons and things like that, floor mats, things like that, wall art, that kind of thing for closing gifts. And you can go over there and have a meeting with them, whenever they have their meetings, and push your wares, and they'll have all your information. And then on the flip side, you can talk to the realtors themselves, and they always want cups to give out to their clients for other things, but also to the agents and the principals of those things, all the awards, the acrylic awards for the best sales for this month and that kind of thing, all that stuff. You can hit them at both ends on that, which is a pretty neat thing. But doing one-offs, I don't know if you guys, and Robert, you probably do quite a few cups, and Mark, I think you've been doing a few too. I like doing production orders, like he said, where it was 50 or 60 or 70 the same cup, because especially with this Rotoboss, man, you just pop in the new one, hit the start button, and walk away, and you can clean up the previous cup and get it reboxed and just turn it into a real efficient assembly line, especially if you're not doing one-offs that way.
Yeah, with the variable text feature in LightBurn, it's literally as fast as you can load them. It's great. You don't, that can be a really laborious process, but with that variable text feature in LightBurn, man, you load up your Excel spreadsheet that's got all the names and numbers, and away you go. It's awesome.
Yeah, that is neat. That is neat. I haven't used it. I know how to use it. I mean, I've tested with it, but I haven't used, like I say, I don't make things typically. But yeah, for ball teams and stuff, that would be super. That would automate it even further. So cool. Gary jumped on here. Hey, Gary, how are you, man? I guess he's just going to listen. He's anxiously awaiting his 51, I think. Has your 51 come in yet?
No, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
All right, yeah. No, I got excited yesterday. I got an email from Clay saying that the order had shipped yesterday, and then I realized today that was my order for my extra optics, the lens and mirrors that I bought, and now I'm back to being bummed again. So
well, you can hold on to your mirrors. You can keep your mirrors in your pocket and jingle them around until your laser gets there. That'll keep your mind off of it.
Well, Billy's getting pretty anxious to get her laser, and I don't want to have her upset with me about it, and I want to get my 51.
Sure. So yeah, Summer, this is Gary. He's another one of the regulars you'll see on some of the groups. And he's also pretty active on there. So gosh, y'all gonna have to quit being so active. You're gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna push me out of here. No, I'm gonna bring all that stuff up. We're gonna do these webinars every week, and with every other week it'll be later in the evening for people that work and can't can't hit these morning sessions. So I thought that would be good. And my goal is to start pumping out all of those videos that are on the Chinese site and reworking those for the U.S. market. All of the help.
No porn music.
Resources. Yeah, no porn music. So maybe no music at all. And I'll tell you what I found. I can spend 4 hours making a 30-second video and getting in Sony Vegas and, you know, grading it and DaVinci and doing all of this stuff. And it seems not to get as much of a response as if I just pull out my phone and just hold it in my hand and do the stuff as I go along and then just publish it. So some of my stuff might not be quite as formal as some of the others, but you know, I won't get too sloppy, but I think function over form seems to be the way to go there. So that's
information's information.
Right. So yeah. Let's see. I don't really have anything else. I don't know if Summer, if you have any
I do. I have one more question. I heard Bryce say he's keeping his laser in his garage. So is it are you cooling your garage? Or like, I'm in Houston and it's 100-something degrees. So like, we're trying to figure out where we're actually putting this thing at, if I'm converting a guest bedroom into the room, or if I need to like put you know, sheetrock in my garage and put AC in there, like what I need to do. So
right. Well, mine's in the garage. I'm in Tennessee, so you know, it's hotter than Bobby Brown's spoon here.
Right.
But in some cases, but it's in the garage now. Mine is insulated, but I do not have. I've got a little portable air conditioner that helps, but it doesn't cool the entire area. But I can run this thing 100 degrees, and it has no problem. I just worry about it freezing. I've got a little $20 plug-in space heater, and on the real cold nights, I'll keep it, you know, 40 degrees or so in here, just so the tube doesn't freeze.
So that I'm not worried about. It's the humidity. You don't think the heat, because it's humid as all get out down here. Like, how's that going to affect if I don't cool? You know,
you'll get some condensation, and that could drip down. You know, the condensation's not good, and you can adjust your tube temperature normally. And I don't have a problem with condensation. I haven't yet. Of course, you know, you may have more humidity. Than I do.
I mean, it's 100% humidity a lot during the summer. It's nasty out here.
Yeah,
so.
And that's really going to boil down to the dew point. If you start noticing any condensation on the tube or the cooling lines, especially, you'll see it there. That's a good visual way to look at it without having to open up the tube bay and have a look. Then you could bump your temp up a notch or something, you know, to get away from that dew point that's going to cause that. I'll put it this way: we don't have a lot of calls. I don't remember of any recently at all. That are dealing with condensation. I had one, but that was because they had the laser in a room that they kept the air at like 68 degrees or 64 degrees or something crazy cool. And they didn't have a flapper on the outside. So the condensation was actually inside the laser and all in the control panel and everything else because of that difference. But they put a flapper on their exhaust port, and they leave the lid open now, and that rectified that problem. But besides that, I've not had one single condensation call of where that has been a problem, at least over the past 5 quarters or so.
Okay. And this is Bryce. I'm actually in Houston too, so it is in the garage, but I keep a fan going. I mean, I've only had it set up since this weekend, so time will tell for sure, but the air compressor might be another issue, especially in Houston. So I do have a water separator on it if you are going to do an air compressor route.
Okay.
But I mean, my garage is attached to the house, so it's a little bit more controlled than a full detached garage like some of the houses down here are. And I'm a wood shop and metal shop as well out of my garage. So I built a partition wall through it. So the laser's like by itself on one whole bay of the garage. And it's been, I mean, it doesn't get, you can work in there. It is super hot, but we'll see. We'll definitely have to see how it does, but I don't think I'm too worried about it, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's much cheaper for me to go my garage route than to convert an entire bedroom and start hacking into my house to exhaust out. So that's that was kind of what I'm looking at too, cost wise. So.
And
This
keeping
is
them in
Gary.
garage is pretty common. So
This
hey,
is
Gary.
Gary. Check out a Mitsubishi mini split. We air condition a 12 by 28 building for our laser and our CNC router, and the installed by a certified installation team was like $2,600. And this is for the hyper heat, and it goes down. It'll heat until the outside temperature is down to -5 degrees, and you wouldn't need that, so you could possibly just get a standard air conditioner. And it's so cold in there that I can barely stand it half the time. I mean, in the summertime, we get 90 degree, 95 degree weather here last week, and it's been very warm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you shouldn't have any major troubles. You should be fine. There's quite a few people that put these in their garages. So,
Okay.
Well, we're approaching an hour, and I'm about out of topics. I don't know if anybody else has anything else or wants to say anything in closing.
Quick question. This is Bryce again. For cups, are y'all mostly getting them from JDS Industries? I know I had a big order through them, but I was wondering if anyone's gotten, I guess, connections with Yetis or anyone else to sell cups of
Yeti
their
won't sell to people if they know they're going to modify them, as far as I know.
Okay.
Not without a huge licensing thing. There's something going on with the Yeti. Now, Chris Lacazio has what, Latazza cups, and they're made just for lasering, and there's a discount. I don't know if you're in the House of Lasers group, but there's a lot of discounts in there, coupon codes and that kind of thing for a lot of these things. JDS is a good price. I mean, you know, if you get enough where you don't have to get eaten alive by the shipping, they have a great price. But I usually do such low volumes. I buy mine on Amazon, but again, I pay about $8 a piece for mine. But again, they're not great, and they're just for testing. They're not so much for production use. And I'm trying to think. I think I don't know if Johnson Plastics has any or not, but I know JDS is a huge outlet for that.
Yeah, Maker Flow is another one that I use quite a bit. Their cups are a little bit cheaper, but they do offer some nice features that JDS doesn't, meaning that they include a care card, they include a straw, they include a little bit better lid.
Right.
So Maker Flow would be another option.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, great. And then second question, have y'all used like Duets or any of those other like lamination laserable materials?
Like the Romark and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't
Romark.
personally, but a lot of people have, and it does great. I mean, you know, it's made for lasering anyway. So at the end of the day, you know, we're still outputting a CO2 beam just like everybody else. So there's no problem with using that kind of stuff at all. So.
Great. Well, I'm going to jump off. I appreciate y'all's time.
All right. Have a great day.
Y'all too. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Well, if you don't have anything else, I think I'll pop this off here and get it rendering, and we'll put these up on the YouTube channel. I'll make a playlist for the webinars, and that way people can go back and look at them, and I'll post that as soon as it gets done. I appreciate everybody. Michael, I know you can't talk right now, and there is a chat feature that you can use, but we'll worry about that next time. Maybe you can join us on the next go around. And I assume Grant's probably still listening in. He's probably on the phone. So, and Robert, Mark, Gary, Summer, I appreciate y'all getting on here. And if you have any other,
talking with you guys.
So awesome. And we'll do this again next week. I think it'll be at 7 p.m. on Thursday next week. I'll post that too. So, and hopefully we can get some more new people in here. I love answering questions for anybody, but I like getting the questions and the insight from prospective Thunder users. I think that adds a good element to it, and having you guys here to bounce that stuff off of is a great thing. So I appreciate all of you. So
Thank you guys for answering questions for me. I appreciate you.
Sure, not a problem. You guys have a great rest of the week.
You too.
You too.
All right, take
Bye-bye.
care.